They finally did it. Microsoft has done it. Activision Blizzard has been acquired by Microsoft. The deal went through. What does that mean for gaming? What does that mean for Microsoft? What does that mean for Sony? Are games going to become exclusive to Xbox? Are they going to be timed exclusive? There's a lot of things that are up in the air right now. What I can say is a lot of people are in fear that a lot of these games that we know and love will either become first party games for Xbox, meaning we won't see any of these games on a Sony console. No Call of Duty, no Diablo, no Crash Bandicoot, anything with that Activision, title attached to it. No Destiny, none of it. And I don't know how true that is because we haven't really heard much about what's going to happen with these games. A lot of people fear that Call of Duty, one of the biggest multiplayer games in the world, is no longer going to be able to be played on a Sony console. And I'm kind of in fear of that as well because I play a lot of first-person shooters on the PlayStation. That's just my preference and where I prefer to play games. And every Call of Duty in the past 3-4 years have been played on my PlayStation. So just kind of thinking about that and thinking that in the future I may never be able to play another Call of Duty game on my PlayStation console is a little crazy to me. But we don't know for sure what has been worked out with Sony. We don't know if Call of Duty or any of these other games under the Activision Blizzard umbrella will become timed exclusives per se. One good thing about this deal is that any game under the Activision Blizzard logo will be day and date on the Game Pass. So any Call of Duty game that comes out in the future, any Diablo game that comes out in the future, Overwatch, Crash Bandicoot games, Destiny games, all of these games will be day and date. Day one on Game Pass, which is a great thing. It sells Game Pass. It gets a lot of more users on a Microsoft console, which is what Microsoft has been wanting to do. But the thing is, what a lot of people are in fear of is that Microsoft may hold some of these developers or some of these games hostage, which they have done in the past and which we are currently also seeing. We see Perfect Dark being kind of held hostage by Microsoft. It's been a very, very long time since we had a Perfect Dark game. We got an announcement. We haven't seen much on it. That's Microsoft just kind of hoarding that game because they don't want to share it with another company. Same with, Alan Wake 2. When Microsoft owned Alan Wake at the time, they kind of had the IP and they didn't really do much with it. Alan Wake 1 came out, and then they did the American Nightmare, and they kind of just left it alone, which then Remedy went on to buy the IP back because Microsoft was just sitting on it. And the fear is that Microsoft is buying these companies so that they can keep them from their competitor. Which, in my opinion, I don't see Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard as a console killer. I don't see that this is going to kill Sony's consoles. What I truly believe is that when you make quality games and you make really good quality games, no deal can take away from how good your developers are. And the fact that Microsoft is going out purchasing all these companies and these dev teams to kind of keep them away from Sony shows that Sony is feared in the gaming industry. Now, that's pretty interesting, considering all things. What I do want to say is I prefer to play my games on a Sony console. That's just where I like to play video games. Microsoft Xbox doesn't really have a lot of games, so I kind of steer away from that console. But maybe because of this deal, just maybe, we will get to see more games if Microsoft actually utilizes these studios, these dev teams, to bring quality games to Xbox. Maybe in the future we can finally see some actually really good quality games and bring more players to the Xbox community. Because it's been a long time. It's been a long time since Microsoft has actually even been on top. And even with these acquisitions, I don't see Microsoft still being on top, but I see them working their way there. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing for the Microsoft Xbox community. That's a good thing for people who love their Xbox, who love, Microsoft. That's great news. On the other hand, I love both consoles. I think PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are great consoles, but I want to see both companies thrive. I hate this contest where everyone just has to make an acquisition to feel like they have to pull something away from the other just to be on top. It shouldn't be like that. I don't feel like that's how it was in the 360 PS3 era, but it's a new day and age, and this is what I guess this is what we're into now. But I'm kind of excited to see what Microsoft is going to do with these studios. If you see in the background here, you see StarCraft, Candy Crush, World of Warcraft, Diablo, Overwatch. These are all really popular games, and I really truly hope that Microsoft will do these games justice. Not just buy this company to keep it away from the competitor, but to actually do something with these games. Because it would be honestly really sad for Microsoft to have made this purchase, all that money, all that time spent just to kind of sit on it so they could say, hey, we don't have to worry about Sony doing this or that or the third, because we own it, we have the right to it, and no one can touch it. Because I feel like that's all this is really about. And I feel like what Microsoft needs to start to learn to do is, instead of making these acquisitions, find good dev teams, create good dev teams, bring in good dev teams to the Microsoft team, and just make good games. It doesn't take an acquisition for you to get good studios. Just find good studios. There's a lot of good studios out there you just have to utilize. Stop pressuring your teams and putting them under fire and making sure that everything is done in a timely manner, and overworking your teams just to put out shitty games. Find a dev team, find these studios, treat them with respect, and care for their vision and what they want to do. Believe in them, and you will start to see the progress of what you can do. So that's really all I have to say about this. Again, I would like to see in the future where this is really going to go. I'm kind of nervous about it, but it is what it is. The deal is done. Microsoft has it. As you can see, all these games will now be under the Microsoft umbrella, and whether or not they're going to share these titles in like a, timed exclusive kind of ordeal, we don't know. We won't know until the future, and we'll see what happens. If you guys like this video, please make sure you hit that like button. Also hit that sub button if you're brand new to the channel, and make sure you hit that notification bell, as it does make sure that you know every time I go live and or upload a video to the channel. You guys are awesome. Stay up. Peace.